Hey everyone, this is Yeti and welcome to my channel. This video is going to be about how to play and set up Spirit Island. For me, Spirit Island is an amazing game. It's almost like 3 or 4 games in one, it feels like, and the complexity is pretty high, and you can make it however complex you want to make it. You can just play the very base game, but there's so many things you can do to it to make it just more difficult and more difficult. It's insane. um, so what this video is going to be about is just how to set up the game, and I'm going to do a couple of quick turns just to kind of show you how things work. I'm basically going to just try to do an interactive rule book in a sense, because reading through the rule book is pretty tough. With the expansion, it's almost like 30-40 pages, I think. So I'll try to get through a lot of the basic rules as I can. May forget a couple things, but for the most part, I want to get the basics down. So let's start setting up. So the first thing you always do is shuffle. I mean, if there's a deck of cards, you shuffle them. Let's start setting up the invader board over here. So what I like to do first is just do the fear cards. So the fear cards, these are cards that are generated throughout the game. We'll go over how to generate them and all that fun stuff a little bit later. But what I like to do is after I shuffle, grab 3 fear cards, place them down here. Grab your terror level 3 cardboard cutout. Again, we'll go over all this stuff a little bit later. This is just purely setup. Once you place that down, take another 3 fear cards. Place them on top of the terror level 3 card. Grab your terror level 2 cardboard cutout and place that down. Next, you're going to grab the next 3 fear cards and just put those on top. And your fear deck is all set. Put the rest of them to the side. Next, I like to set up the invader deck. So the invader deck comes in stages. There's stage 1, 2, and stage 3. So basically, the best way to set it up for me is because you set them up with stage 1 on top, 2 in the middle, and 3 on bottom. So I like to start with stage 3, shuffle, and so you shuffle them individually. So you do tier 3. Once they're shuffled, just take the top one off and place it to the side, and then put the remaining cards down first. Do the same thing with stage 2, shuffle, top one off to the side, and then place the remaining on top of stage 3. And same for stage 1, shuffle, take one off, and put the rest on top. And that is your invader deck. You always take just one from each stage out of the deck, unless you're playing an adversary or something, but for just the base game, that's what you do. Next, you have your Blighted Island card, which they are optional. When you're first starting out, I would recommend, don't use one of these. It makes the game a little bit harder. So when you're first learning, don't use one of these. Just leave the Blight card empty. But if you've gotten to the point where you want to use one, that's great. Shuffle them up, and I just take the top one, and I put it down. And set the rest to the side. Now on here, I'll go over what Blight is later. Just know that it's bad for now. But the card says 2 Blight per player. Now that means per spirit, so we're going to do a 2 spirit setup. So that's 2 Blight per spirit, so 4. And then same thing over here. This is your fear pool. These are fear tokens. These are how you generate fear cards. And like I said, we're going to go over all the fear stuff in a little bit. But you want to put 4 fear tokens per spirit in the pool. So we have 8 fear tokens right here, 4 per player. Shuffle your event deck. Place it there if you have the expansion. This whole top section is expansion board only. So if you don't have the expansion, don't worry about that part, of course. All right, and that is pretty much your board all set up. Now we want to set up the island. So if we look at the island, you know, each land type will have icons on them. So let's go over what these icons are. So this is land number 1. As you can see, there aren't any icons on here, so we ignore it for now. Land number 2 has this icon, which is a city, which are the bigger buildings. And these are one of the invaders, which we'll go over in a little bit as well. And then it also has this little hut icon, which are these little huts. They're the Dahan, the native people, because basically these invaders are coming in and trying to take over the land. So these are the native people, the Dahan. As you can see, land 3, it's 2 huts. So we'll just put 2 huts here. Boom, boom. Land 4, that's a symbol for blight. So we'll put a blight down there. Land 5 is empty. Land 6 is a hut. Land 7 are 2 huts. And land 8, that symbol is a town, which are the smaller buildings. Okay, now we move over to the other board here, because as you can see, these are like puzzle pieces. So however many spirits you're playing as, you grab that many island pieces. Right now it's up to 4. So you can grab up to 4 island pieces and put them together like a little puzzle. But let's start in land number 1. So that's a little hut. We got a city. And yes, every board has a city in land 2. That's always how that works. Land 3 is 2 huts. So 2 Dahan. Boom, boom. Land 4 is a blight. Now, whenever you're adding blight during setup, don't take it from the card. Always take it from the box. You don't want to make that mistake and hinder yourself. Especially if you're doing a blight card, because that's half your blight right there. So, land 5 is empty. Land 6, that's a town. 7 is a hut. And 8 is 2 huts. Alright. So that's the basic setup. Now, if you have the expansion, that's where these tokens come in. And I'll just kind of go over these tokens real fast. So basically, these ones right here, the little claws, these are beast tokens. Honestly, unless you're playing as one of the expansion heroes called Sharp Fangs, the only time they really come up are in event cards. So they're not super handy, unless you're playing as Sharp Fangs. Then they're great. The blue one right here is a Strife. Basically, you add it to an invader, and when the invaders do their attack phase, it blocks all their damage, which is amazing. This yellow one is the disease, and basically it prevents a build, which building is how, we start getting more towns and cities on the board, so it prevents those from being built, which is really nice. And these green ones right here are called wilds, and they prevent exploration, which are adding the little human pieces on the board, which we'll see in a little bit. It prevents those. So, for setup, we only need the beast and diseases. We need one of each per board. So 2 of each. So for beast tokens, you need to find on each board the lowest land that doesn't have any printed icons on it. So in this case, land number 1 doesn't have any printed icons on it, so we put 1 there. And over here, 1 has some, 2 has some, 3 has some, 4 has some. So this is actually number 5. 5 is the lowest that doesn't have any. And then for the diseases, you just add them to land number 2. That's how that will work. Alright, so that is basically the island. There is one more step, but we got to do that part last. So let's go ahead and start doing the spirit setup. So I chose 2 spirits here. I chose Lightning's Swift Strike and Thunderspeaker, who might be my favorite spirit in the game. She is incredible. But basically, I chose these 2 because Lightning is a beginner spirit, and Thunderspeaker is a more advanced spirit. There are 4 beginner and 4 advanced in the base game, and then in the expansion, there's 2 more advanced heroes. But yeah, as far as spirit setup, what you got to do is on your spirit card, you flip to the back, There's a little section of lore here, which is always nice to read. And ironically, Thunderspeaker is Lightning's mom. um, I believe. Yes. Oh, wait. Sorry, I had that backward. I had that backwards. Thunderspeaker is Lightning's child. So, that's cool. Um, Now, but under the lore, there's a little bit of setup here. So, for Lightning Swift Strike, um, it says put 2 presence tokens on your starting board. That little symbol means presence tokens in the highest number sands. So these are presence tokens. Let me put these to the side. These 3 are just reminder tokens for later. But these are your presence tokens right here. So, if we follow the steps here, put 2 presents on your starting board in the highest numbered sands. Now, when it says on your starting board, each spirit, you know, like we saw earlier, these are just like puzzle pieces. So each spirit starts on their own board. So Lightning will start here, and Thunderspeaker will start here. So on your starting board, highest number sands, this is sand number 7. So 7 is higher than 4, of course, so that goes there. You just put them both down. Now, for the remaining presence tokens, you put them on your board, on these little circles. And you want to put them down to where, like there's 2 rows of circles. And you want to make sure that the first circle in each row is showing. So something like this. And it'll always fill in perfectly. So after you put your presence down on the board, it'll only show the front 2. So let's do the same thing for Thunderspeaker. So we have all her presents here. Get her reminder tokens out of the way. All right, and hers says put 2 presents on your starting board, 1 in each of the 2 lands with the most Dahan. So if we're just looking at this board, as you can see, the most Dahan are the land with 2. And so she has 1 here and 1 here. She's just all spread out. That's crazy. All right. And then same thing. Fast forward this. Okay, so now your spirit's all set up. Your power decks are all shuffled. Everything is set up over here. So you're pretty much all set to start. So the first thing you want to do once everything is set up like this, you got to see where they're exploring first. So that's where we come over to the Invader deck that we built earlier. Grab the top card and flip it over. Alright, so we drew mountains. So, let's go over how this exploration works. So these are the little dudes that we will be putting down as explorers. Well, these 2 are hugging. Okay, so exploration. So here are the rules for exploring, and if, you know, when deciding that you have to put an explorer down. So any land of the shown type that is along the coast, which, you know, these dark blue sections are oceans, which means these 3 lands that are adjacent to the coastland, or the ocean, are coastal lands. If the land is coastal, then you will add an explorer down. That's just a rule. Now, the next rule is if the land has a building, a city or a town, in that land, then you put 1 down. So according to that rule, we wouldn't put 1 here. Now, the third rule is if the land is adjacent to a city or a town. So as you can see, there is a town in this adjacent land, so we will be putting an explorer there because it's adjacent. So if we go off that, let's come over here to this guy, which as you can see is adjacent to this wetland where there is a town. So we will put 1 there. And this one is double whammy because it's a coastal land and there's a city, but you still only put 1. So even if it's next to 2 cities or there's 3 towns or whatever, you always put 1 explorer down. Okay, once you have placed your explorers, you want to take the exploration card, move it down one, over to the build section, and we are ready to begin. Now, I want to preface this by saying this is just going to be a demo game. I'm not going to be spending a long time deciding what the best strategy is, because, it's just not not something that we need to do right now. I'll have plenty of other videos that have a ton of gameplay. So we're just going over the basic stuff right now. So what we're going to do now, this game goes in phases. And the first phase that we do is a spirit phase. So the spirit phase involves growing as your first step. Growing is, on every spirit's going to have a growth section at the very top. It's options that start getting you more powerful in the game. So for example, if we're looking at Lightning here, one of his growth option is, reclaim cards, which we haven't played any cards yet, so we have nothing to reclaim. Gain power card, and 1 energy. Energy is how you pay for your cards, which we'll see in a second. His second option here, add a presence within a range of 2 of where you already have presence. So for example, if we chose this growth option, we're placing 2 presents down, and you can decide where you want to take your presents from. Obviously, you have to go from the front to the back. You can't just take this one off, and start getting 5 energy per turn. You have to start at the front. So I'm going to take these 2 off, just because this gives me an extra card play, and, that's just energy. So yeah, basically, within a range of 2, so we'll do the first one. So let's just say, within a range of 2, where you have presence. So I have presence here. That means we can put this presence down within a range of 2, so that's 1, so we can put it here if we want. This is within 1, that's within 1. This is within 2, because it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. He can go all over the place right now. So we'll just say, 1, 2, we'll put it there. And then his second part of this growth option is add a presence within a range of 0. So now that we have one here, we can put it there. Whenever you have 2 presents in a land, that's called a sacred site. You might hear me refer to it as double presence. I don't know, I just say double presence a lot. But there are some powers that require you to have double presence in a land to do them. So always keep that in mind. So that was Lightning growing there. That was his growth. Let's go ahead and do Thunderspeaker now. So as you can see, she has a reclaim option as well. Every spirit will, because you're always playing cards, so you have to reclaim them at some point. And then hers are, so reclaim, gain a power card, and then gain another power card, which is cool. Her other growth option here is add a presence to a land within a range of 2 where there's Dahan. So the land has to have Dahan, these little huts, if you want to add a presence there using this option. And then you add another one within a range of 1 where you have presence and there's Dahan. And then our third growth option here is add a presence and then gain energy. Lightning has that same thing. They're actually pretty similar in their growth options here. So let's just do her. So we'll do this one. Add a presence within a range of 1. So we'll just throw it there because it's within a range of 1 of this guy. So we'll put it here. And then we gain 4 energy. So this is what energy looks like. These little tokens. They're in 3s and 1s. Okay. So that's the first step in the spirit phase. You grow. The next thing you want to do is gain energy. So one of these tracks right here is an energy track. It's the top one. So depending on how many presents you've removed from the top track, kind of depends on how much energy you get per turn. So as you can see with Lightning, he's still at 1 energy per turn, so he only gets 1 energy right now. And Thunderspeaker is also at 1, so she gets 1 energy. Now, once you gain energy, then you start choosing what powers you want to play. So again, I'm not basing this off anything. I'm I'm just picking cards to play. Um, and then just to kind of show you guys how things work. Okay, so I have picked the cards I'm going to play. So whenever I have them down here, you can't see them, but I'll pop them up on the screen here in a second. But whenever you pay for your cards, because they all have an energy cost, um, when you put them down on the table, what you want to do is take your energy and put it on top. I know you can't see it, but you just basically, here, it'll look like this. Um, so like you just put your energy on top of it. That way you know that you're paying for your cards and you have enough energy for it, and that's how you're going to pay for them. Okay, so once you pay for your cards, then we go to the next phase. The next phase has a little red bird, which means we're playing fast powers. So there's a couple things I want to go over with the spirits themselves before we kind of dive into the cards. If you look on the special rules under lightning here, so his special rule is swiftness of lightning. So what that says is for every purple element you have, which we'll go over elements in a second once we look at the cards, you may use one slow power as if it were fast. This includes power cards or your innate power. Very, very good. And also, innate power, when it says innate power, it's referring to this right here, Thundering Destruction. So basically, as you can see, what that turtle means is that it's slow, so it's reactive. It happens after Invaders. What this means is you have to do it within a range of 1 of double presence. So that's what that symbol means, of double presence. And the target land can be any. And if I play these, whatever elements I can play, then I can do this power. So we'll go over this in a little bit. Let's go and look at Thunderspeaker's special rules. So she has 2. Ally of the Dahan, your presence may move with Dahan. So whenever a Dahan moves from one of your lands to another, you may move 1 presence along with it. And I'll show you how that works in a second. And then Sworn to Victory. For each Dahan destroyed by invaders ravaging a land, destroy 1 of your presence within 1 range. So ravaging is the invader step where they're attacking. So if any Dahan die during the attack phase, then you have to destroy a presence within a range of 1. So it's rough, but for the most part, as long as you handle it correctly, it's not bad. So the power cards in this game can be either fast or slow. And the fast powers happen before the invader phase, so it's very proactive. And the slow powers happen after the invaders do all their stuff, so it's very reactive. So typically when you're playing slow powers, you want to, visualize, okay, the board will look like this after the invaders do all their stuff. So I want to make sure and, account for that. Okay. So let me show you the 2 cards that I've decided to play for both people here, just to kind of show you what cards look like and break them down. Okay, so I'm going to start with Lightning's cards. So I've decided to play Lightning's Boon and Harbingers of the Lightning. Now, Lightning's Boon is a 1-cost card. You can see that in the top left, it costs 1. Now, the red circle around the 1 means that it's a fast power. You can also look under speed, and there's a red bird, also indicating it's fast. Now, this card doesn't have a range because this card targets a spirit. So if you read the text here, target spirit may use up to 2 slow powers as if they were fast powers this turn, which is very insane because slow powers tend to be much stronger than fast. So the fact that this card allows someone else to play 2 slow powers as fast is awesome. Very, very strong card. So let's go ahead and look at Harbingers of the Lightning. So as you can see, the cost of this one is 0 in the top left. It has a blue circle around it, meaning that it's slow. You can also look at the turtle in the speed section. Now this one's different because this one has a range of 1, and target land can be any. So let me show you what that means on the board here. So as you can see on the card, it says, push up to 2 Dahan, and then one fear, that little symbol is a fear token, if you pushed any Dahan into a land with towns/cities. So if we look at, both of these cards, you can see that they both have that purple element for lightning that makes his slow powers fast. Now, Lightning's boon is already fast, as we talked about, but Harbingers of the Lightning is typically a slow power. But because there's a purple element, we can make it a fast power. So it's very cool. So let's look at Thunderspeaker's cards that I chose. We have Sudden Ambush, which is a fast power that costs 2. It's within a range of 1. You can target any land. You may gather a Dahan, and I'll show you what gathering is in a second. Each Dahan then destroys 1 explorer, which is cool. The other power card here is Manifestation of Power and Glory. Slow power with a range of 0, which means that you have to have presence in that land to do this power, and the land has to have Dahan in it. So 1 fear, and each Dahan deals damage equal to the number of your presence in target land, which we will go over when it's time to play that card. Very, very strong card. Okay. So let's go ahead and see what a turn looks like. A fast power turn. So I'm going to go back to Lightning here. I'm going to do Lightning's boon, and I'm going to target Thunderspeaker because Lightning stuff is already fast right now because of his special rule. But this lets me do this, her Manifestation of Power and Glory, and one of her innate powers as they're fast, which is awesome. So I'm going to target Lightning's boon, Thunderspeaker. And then Harbingers of the Lightning. So if we look here, within a range of 1, I can push 2 Dahan. So let me show you what pushing looks like. Okay. So let's do this. So he has presence here. So within a range of 1, this sand counts. Now I'm going to push these 2 into there, and I'm going to bring Thunderspeaker's presence with it. Because remember, her special rule, if Dahan move, you can move a presence with it. So I'm going to put that there. Now, the rest of Harbingers of the Lightning. 1 fear if you pushed any Dahan into a land with a town or city. And there's a city in there, so we get 1 fear. So whenever you generate fear, you come back to the fear pool on this side, and we generated 1, so we pull 1 down to the generated fear. And then once you pull all 8 down, once we do that, you take the top fear card and you put it here. Which we haven't done yet, obviously, so we won't do it yet, but that's how fear works. Okay, now if we look at Thunderspeaker's cards, what I want to do is we're going to do Sudden Ambush. So Sudden Ambush is within a range of 1. So I'm going to target this land. And it says you may gather 1 Dahan. So gathering is pulling from adjacent lands, basically. So in this case, if we're targeting this land, this land is adjacent, so we're gathering him into here. Pushing, like earlier, we had these 2 in here. Pushing is pushing from the land you target. Gathering is pulling from adjacent lands into the land you target. So like if we wanted to, we could have pushed like him into here and him into here, or both of them back into here, whatever we wanted. We decided to push them both into here. And then Sudden Ambush, we targeted here and gathered him into here. And then the rest of Sudden Ambush, each Dahan destroys 1 explorer. So we're going to go ahead and kill him. And now if we go to Manifestation of Power and Glory, if you remember, Lightning made us use 2 slow powers as if they were fast. And this is normally a slow power, but I'm going to go ahead and do it as a fast. So, range is 0, where there's Dahan. So I'm going to target this land because my presence is there and there's Dahan. So we gain a fear. So we get 1 fear. token. And each Dahan deals damage equal to the number of presence in target land. So as you can see, we have 3 Dahan and 1 presence, which means each Dahan deals 1 damage, so there's 3 damage. Now cities have 3 health and 3 attack. So if I do 3 damage to this, it kills the city. So I'm going to kill the city. And when you kill a city like that, you get 2 fear. So 1, 2. Cities are 2 fear. If you kill a town, it's 1 fear. Explorers, you don't get anything for, unfortunately. So here's how elements work. If we look at our cards that we played for lightning, you can see that we played 2 cards that have a purple and an orange on each one. Now, if we look back at lightning's innate powers, it needs 3 orange and 2 purple to do that innate power. So we didn't play enough to get that. With elements, it's a threshold. You just have to, you don't spend those elements. It's just if you played those elements, you get to do that ability. That is how that works. So if we go look at Thunderspeakers elements, you'll see that we played a red. And the red right here was, we only need to play 1 red to unlock this ability right here. And this ability, Gather the Warriors, is I can gather up to 1 Dahan per purple I play. And I can also push up to 1 Dahan per yellow I have. So, a couple things about this. First, I want to show you the presence track, where this second spot right here shows air. So this says that every turn I have just a purple element good to go. That will always be there. So in this case, just from that alone, I can gather 1 Dahan. I played 2 other purples, which means I can gather 3 Dahan, and I can push 1 because I played 1 yellow. So here's what that would look like. If we go back to the board here, so it's within a range of 1. I'm going to target this land. So I can gather 3. Remember, we played 3 purples, so I'm going to gather 3. I'm going to bring my presence with it, because that's what happens. Now I can push 1, and because it's the same targeted land with gathering and pushing. So I can push him into here, and I'll bring my presence with it. And that is that. So that was the fast phase. So now we're going to go to the invader phase. So the invader phase starts with a blighted island effect. So if this card right here starts as a healthy island. But if things didn't work out so well, and you had to put a lot of blight on the board, which we'll go over how that happens in a little bit, then you have to turn that healthy island card over, and it's a blighted island. And that will have an effect on it. Some effects are recurring every turn. So if you do have one of those every turn effects, then you do that at this point. If you don't have a blighted island effect, then you just skip that and go to the next step, which if you have the expansion, the Branch and Claw expansion, then that's when you would do your event card. Just for time's sake, we're not going to do an event card, but here's some examples of what some look like if you want to pause the video and check them out. Usually it's just a couple of options that you got to pick, and they're usually really terrible. Event cards are no fun usually. So that's the event. Then the next step is if you generated a fear card, which we talked about earlier. If we had a fear card here, we would do it at this time, but we do not have one, so we will not. Once the fear card is over, next step is the ravage phase. So on your first turn, there is no card here, so you don't ravage. But the next step is building, and we do have a card here for building. So they're building in mountains. So I'm going to go over what building looks like. So here are the rules of building. The first rule you want to always remember is that there has to be an invader present in that land in order to build. So for example, this mountain right here does not have any invaders. So we would not put anything in there for this build phase. That's the first thing. Once you decide, okay, there are no invaders there, you got to look at where there are invaders. So let's take this land, for example, this mountain. The rules for building are, if there are more towns than cities, you build a city. If there are more cities than towns, you build a town. And for everything else, you build a town. So if we look over here, there are no towns or cities. So in this case, this falls under the other section, so we build a town. And obviously, these two are exactly the same, so we build a town. But let's just say, let's just say the board looked like this prior to the build phase. So in this case, right here, or here, actually, let's make it even better. Let's say it looked like this. So here's what it will look like. So there are more towns than cities because there's 1 town and 0 cities. So you build a city. Over here, there's more cities than towns because, there's 1 city and 0 towns. So you build a town. And then, as we saw, this gets a town because there's nothing else, no other buildings there. So that's how build would work. Once you're done building, then it's time to explore, which means you take the next explore card right here from the invader deck, flip it over, and we got sand. So sand, we just go like we did before. So this is adjacent to a town, so we got to put an explorer there. This is adjacent to a city and a couple other things, so we put an explorer there. This one is coastal. You can see it's adjacent to the ocean, so we get one there. And this one is next to a couple things, so we put one there. Okay. So once you've done that, then you have to advance invader cards, which you come over here, slide the mountain down, and then slide the sand over. And you're good. Now we do the slow power phase. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any slow powers. When you're playing with lightning, there are going to be a lot of turns where there are no slow powers. But if we had any slow powers, then we would do them now. But we don't, so we go to the next turn. Okay. So the next turn, what you got to do is you got to discard the cards that you played on the previous turn. So you got to discard them. And we do the whole thing all over again. So I'm just going to show that real quick. So we grow. Let's just say I'll do this option. Put a presence down and then gain an energy. Or gain 3 energy. And then for her, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reclaim cards so I can do the power card option. So for her, Thunderspeaker, we are reclaiming my 2 cards that I just played last turn, and we're gaining 2 power cards. So here's how gaining power cards works. If you're playing one of the beginner heroes, there's 4 of them, Lightning is one of them. They come with a power progression card, looks like this. And basically, they are hand-picked powers that, if you use this power progression card, it's in a specific order. And, every time you draw a card, you know what you're getting. And that's how that will work with power progression. I would highly, highly suggest don't do this for too long. Don't use the power progression cards for too long. Reason being, because there's a lot of situations that come up where you'll want to do the gain powers a regular way, so yeah, you can get a better feel for the situation and maybe get a better card for your situation. With the power progression cards, you're kind of stuck. You're forced to get that card regardless. So obviously when you're first learning the game, it's great. Definitely do it. But don't do it for too long. So that's power progression, and it's something you set up before the game. But if you're doing the powers the regular way, then here's how it works. So I'm going to gain a minor power, which are these kind of brownish orange ones. So what you do is you draw the top 4 cards. You look through them and pick one. So I'm just going to pick one. And honestly, when I'm looking for cards, the first thing I look for are colors, like the elements, and see if they line up with the spirit. If they do, then great, and hopefully it's a good card too. But if not, then you may just have to get whatever the best card available is. For the second power card I want to gain, I'm going to go ahead and gain a major. Now, usually you're not going to get a major power card this early. I just want to show you how it works. So for a major power, you do the same thing. Top 4 cards, 2, 3, 4. You look through them. You pick the one you want. Now, whenever you gain a major, and this goes for the power progression card as well, because there's a couple of majors on there too. Whenever you gain a major card, you have to forget one of your cards that you currently have. So that can be either in your hand, or that can be something you just played last turn and it's in your discard pile. You can forget that card as well. But once you forget a card, you just get rid of it, and now your major power is in your hand. Okay, so now we need to gain energy. So Lightning now gets 2 energy per turn, so we'll give him 2 energy. Thunderspeaker still only gets 1. Now we'll pay for the cards, put the energy on the cards. Now, another thing that you want to look at is on your spirit card, there's 2 tracks. There's the presence track, the top row, and the second row is how many card plays you can do. So basically, Lightning right now can do 3. If you have 3 that you can afford, and that's how that will work. So always make sure to look at that.
Wait a second. Hey guys, Edit Yeti here. I know I mentioned this kind of late, but the card plays, I know I did that wrong in the beginning for Thunderspeaker because I'm a giant noob, and I just don't want to go back and change it. So I know I messed that up in the beginning. Thunderspeaker only should have played 1 card. But yeah, it's a good example of do as I say, not as I do. Alright guys, back to the action.
Now, let's go ahead and do the fast phase. So, fast phase, again, I'm playing Raging Storm for Lightning, and I'm playing Shatter Homesteads as well. Both of them have the purple element, so that means I can do them fast. So let's do Shatter Homesteads. So, if you look, normally it's a slow power, but again, it's a purple element, so I can make it fast. So we're going to do that. So within a range of 2 from a double presence, target land can be any. We gain a fear, so I'm going to gain a fear token and destroy a town. So I'm going to go ahead and target this land because within a range of at least 2. I'm going to destroy a town. And like I said earlier, whenever you kill a town like that, you gain a fear. And this next one is 1 damage to each invader within a range of 1. So I'm just gonna take him out. Because why not? Alright, and this one right here, for Thunderspeaker, we have Words of Warning. So this is a fast power, range of 1. Target land has to have Dahan. Very important. And it's a defend 3. And defending means that it blocks 3 damage. So it's very, very strong. And then during Ravage, Dahan and target land deal damage simultaneously with invaders, which is big because normally the invaders will attack first and then the Dahan retaliate, but with this card they do damage at the same time, which is pretty cool. So we'll demonstrate that here because a lot of things are going to happen there. So this reminder token is just so I know that I'm playing this Words of Warning card during the invader phase. Okay, those are the powers we have chosen. We didn't unlock any fast innate powers, so let's go to the invader phase. So again, no Blighted Island effect. We do our event card. We don't have a fear card, but we would do it now if we did. Now let's see what a Ravage looks like. So Ravage in mountains. Alright, let's start over here. And I'm going to go over the damage and how... Alright, let's start over here. So I'm going to go over the invaders and how attacking works and how defending works and all that fun stuff. So, a city, as we mentioned earlier, has 3 health and also 3 attack. Towns have 2 health and 2 attack. And explorers have 1 health and 1 attack. Dahan have 2 health and 2 attack. So they're basically like a town in that sense. So in this action-packed land here, don't forget, this is a defend 3. So, remember, this is 3 damage, 2 damage, 1 damage. So this is 6 damage total. Defend 3 means that it's 3 damage. Okay? These 2 Dahan will do 4 damage and have 4 health. And remember, normally these guys would attack first, and then they would retaliate it if they're still alive, which they wouldn't be. But since this card, Words of Warning, says that we do damage at the same time, we're going to do that. So, remember, 4 damage. They're defended 3 as well. So 4 damage. So I'm going to kill a city, which is 2 fear. And that gives us our 8th fear. So with the 8 fear, what we do is we generate the fear card because we earned it, and then we push all 8 fear back to the top, and then we just keep pulling it down as the game goes. And it's 4 damage, so we can kill the explorer as well. Let's put those back in the thing. Okay, now it was simultaneous. So remember, it was 3 damage that came through. So since it's 2 health per Dahan, it does 2 damage to one, and then 1 damage to the other. And I just like you can tip them over, you can put them on their back, whatever you want to do, to indicate that they took a damage. So now what happens is these guys now attack the land. Normally they attack the land first and then they attack Dahan second and then the Dahan retaliate. But since we did the damage simultaneously, it kind of does it a little backwards. But now they attack the land. So the land, the defense already came through. So the land actually takes 2 damage. And whenever the land takes at least 2 damage, it gets blighted. So this is how blight gets added to the board. Now, the sucky thing about blight is if it's added to a land where a spirit has presence, you have to remove that presence from the game. It can't be thrown back on unless someone has a power that can, which there are some. But that's what happened in that land, so it got blighted. So same situation over here, but as you can see, there's 6 damage, no defense, no Dahan. So they literally just do 6 damage to the land. It gets blighted, and then you have to kill this presence. And then if we go to this mountain right here, he only does 1 damage to the land. So remember, you have to do at least 2 damage. So he does not blight the land. He does 1 damage to the Dahan. So flip him over. Now the Dahan can fight back. So he does 2 damage back to him and kills him. So that's Ravage. Now you do your next build. So remember before, nothing, and then all 3 of those will be towns. Alright, and then you do your next explorer. And then you just keep going. You just keep adding explorers, you keep building, you keep ravaging, you keep doing powers. So that's basically the game. Now, as far as how you win and how you lose, let's go over that. So let's go over the loss conditions first. So one of them is blight. So, whether you're playing a blighted card or you don't have the card and you just have the blight on the board, if you run out of blight completely from the card, you lose. So that's one loss condition. Second one is if you get through the entire Invader deck here and the next exploration comes up and there's no more cards left, then you lose at that point. And another way to lose is if either spirit loses all of their presence from the board, then that's a loss condition as well. Now, as far as how you win, if you look over here, we are at Terror level 1 right now, and it even says victory condition on it. So victory condition for the level 1 is kill all explorers, all towns, and all cities. I've never had a Terror level 1 win before. I've gotten really close, but it wasn't a full win. So Terror level 1 wins are very hard to do. But as you keep earning fear cards, we have these terror, once you reach Terror level 2, you move it over here. So now your win condition is just kill all buildings, so all towns and all cities. So a little bit easier. But if you still can't get that done and you keep earning fear cards, you have Terror level 3, which is just killing all cities. And if you still can't do that, but you're still generating fear, if you do all your fear cards, then you just automatically win the game. As soon as you generate that last fear card, you just win the game right there. And those are your win conditions. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helped with how to play and how to set up and all that stuff. I do apologize that I didn't go into great detail on, the best moves and how to pick your what powers you want to play. I'm going to have a lot of gameplay videos on this channel as well, so keep a lookout for those. I'm going to upload those as often as I can. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if I missed something. I'm always down to learn more. Like I said, the rulebook is big for this game, so I learn new things all the time. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button if you had a good time. You can subscribe as well if you want. It's cool. And yeah, check out my other videos. And I'll be seeing you around. Yeti out.